Robert McDowell, FCC Commissioner. Robert, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Thank you for having me.
Is this the first time you've been on TechCrunch?
As far as I know.
So, Robert, you were involved in this organization called the FCC. In 30 seconds, explain to the mere mortals who watch TechCrunch TV what exactly it is.
That's an excellent question. So, FCC, Federal Communications Commission, has been around since 1934, and it was originally set up to administer the broadcast airwaves, which at the time was only radio, as well as the phone system. And there was an implicit subsidy system back then of the old Ma Bell AT&T monopoly. And over the years, the FCC's mission has grown and diversified as the communications marketplace has. So it's 5 unelected presidential appointees, no more than 3 maybe of the same political party. We're appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate, and oversee a staff of about 1,700 people in Washington and throughout the 50 states.
And you're a G.W. Bush appointee, is that right?
Originally appointed by President Bush and then reappointed by President Obama, and there's not many of us who can say that. So.
And as a Republican then, do you generally favor hands-off technology, particularly the internet?
Absolutely. I think the internet is the greatest deregulatory success story of all time, and unless there's some sort of pervasive market failure, the government ought to step aside and let it happen.
Should we shut the FCC?
Well, you know, there are a lot of theoretical journals, a lot of articles written about that perhaps we should just leave all such regulation up to competition law and antitrust law, consumer protection law, things of that nature. There's some merit there, but that's more complicated. You can't just pull the plug. You would hope that we would have a perfectly competitive marketplace everywhere. That's not always the case. There are a lot of old legacy statutes, laws on the books that compel the FCC to do things that it does. But as technology develops, I think as my gray hair turns to white, perhaps someday the FCC should certainly be reformed, if not completely remodified into more of a consumer protection agency that deals in general with consumer protection issues.
By the way, were you the star of Ocean's 11?
No.
That wasn't you, that was your brother.
Neither one of us. I don't know which actor you were referring to there. But,
well, you know the guy. So we're at the Aspen Technology Summit, and we're discussing, we spent the last 3 days discussing major technology issues, which obviously the FCC seem to have to deal with one way or the other. 2 of the biggest issues, fortunately network neutrality seems to have gone away at least this year. 2 of the biggest issues that I'd like to get some input from you on are spectrum and privacy. Are these 2 issues that you expect to blow up in the next year?
Well, spectrum reallocation, so the idea of what can we do to bring more spectrum to the marketplace so consumers' wireless devices work better. For anyone who's tried to operate an iPhone, for instance, in Manhattan, understands that it can be very slow because some folks, although your viewers will understand this, but wireless networks are shared networks, so you're sharing bandwidth with your neighbor. So spectrum reallocation is going to be a very big issue as Congress tries to find a way to give broadcasters an incentive, to TV broadcasters, an incentive to relinquish all or part of their spectrum so they can be auctioned off. I've been a long-time proponent as well of unlicensed use of what we call the TV white spaces. Those are unused TV channels in particular markets, and I think if we could continue the FCC's bipartisan work in that regard, we could see a great explosion of entrepreneurial brilliance in that space, which could not only empower consumers, but also bring great economic benefit.
Is the spectrum issue essentially this seismic shift from television to the internet as the central broadcast network?
Absolutely. I mean, so the amount of spectrum set aside for television broadcasting versus what it could potentially be used for is a public policy debate that's raging right now. And all of our viewing is going to really, I think, go mobile for the most part. And so that's something to consider as we try to make these decisions. But right now, it's in the hands of Congress. The FCC itself can't make that unilaterally. We don't have the power to do that.
You think the FCC should get involved in the privacy debate?
No, I don't, actually. I think there should be one government agency that is the expert on privacy, and it should not be the FCC. We have a few limited statutory obligations for privacy, but they're very limited, and I think the Federal Trade Commission or an agency like it would be better suited to tackle that issue.
And are you generally bullish on innovation on the internet, particularly when it comes to startup companies?
I am. I think governments need to tread with care, and really their number one directive should be do no harm. and because we can't imagine right now what's going to be coming into consumers' hands even 24 months from now. So I'm very bullish, I'm very optimistic, I'm very encouraged for my children's future when it comes to the future of technology.